change. Walmart employee shot 6 people in Virginia today. That is on our list of things to cover. I actually worked at a Walmart one summer, and I ended up just walking out, which hopefully that didn't affect any of my fellow employees negatively. But dude, I couldn't do it. They are a hellish corporation. Yeah. Walmart is a nice, small, family-run business. They literally treat it like that. In the break room, there's a picture of Sam Walton, the guy who runs Walmart. And it's like, yeah, he worked so hard, and he drove his pickup truck till the day he died. He was just a small-town guy, just trying to get by, running his old shop, Walmart. It's like his 6 descendants now are like the richest people in the world. And the exploitative practices of this corporation are almost unbelievable. Let me see. When was I going to talk about the shooting at the Walmart? We can go to that right now. It was in Virginia. Where was it? Oh shoot! I forgot to pull up the article. I forgot to link the article. One sec. Got it. I got it. We good. So yeah, tragic. I hate when these things happen. It's part of the reason I don't cover these a lot is because I don't want people to like live in fear in this country. Like these things are so common. We got to do something about them, but I don't think that it's good to like spend all your time thinking about it or worrying about it, that it might happen to you, despite the fact that there is a possibility for all of us living in this country. But yeah, you had a man who went into Walmart and killed his coworkers. Really sad, to see somebody killing the people who should be his allies. The reason he's probably disgruntled and isolated and got no help with mental health issues, and the reason they were led to such a deranged state where they'd kill their coworkers. Walmart probably played a role in that. The exploitative working conditions. In driving this person to the brink of insanity. So, rather than organizing with coworkers against the bosses, exploiting them and keeping them doing this meticulous, horrific job all day at an exploitative wage, I guess not horrific, but boring, your job with long hours all day. Rather than teaming up with coworkers against them, you literally have someone breaking and killing their coworkers. And Joe Biden responded to this by saying, because of yet another horrific and senseless act of violence, there are now even more tables across the country that will have empty seats this Thanksgiving. Like, let's just use the Thanksgiving holiday to not do anything about this, to not address any of the problems that create these mass shootings. Let's just keep sending arms and weapons to neo-Yazis in Europe who could, influence shooters in the U.S. and have influence shooters in the U.S. Let's continue to make our culture one of violence and expansion and individualism. And if you're not the man, if you can't rise to the top by your own merits and your parents' money, then you're just a piece of shit and you deserve to be isolated and you deserve to struggle. Rather than doing anything about our society, our sick society, of which these shootings are a symptom, it's just, think of the families who will have empty seats on Thanksgiving. I can't think of a more substanceless, stupid thing to say from the person who's in charge of our country, the most powerful person in our country, when this was the 600th mass shooting in the U.S. this year. That's all you have to say is, I feel bad that those families will have empty seats at Thanksgiving when some working class people get shot, when there are 600 of these every year in the country you're in charge of, and economic conditions have been deteriorating for people as work has been getting more intense. And all you're doing is sending a bunch of arms and weapons and support to the U.S. coup government in Ukraine and neo-Yazis in Ukraine. That's all you have to say, Joe. I mean, I see it as a symptom of our imperialistic society. You're surrounded by war propaganda. You're exploited every day. You're isolated from other people and from community and from your family. And I mean, what other explanation do you get for 600 mass shootings? And yeah, there need to be common sense gun laws too, right? There need to be common sense gun laws in every country, probably. Although I don't support disarming the proletariat. And personally, I got doxxed this week. Someone was releasing my personal information. What if a crazy person comes after me? We live in a country with 600 of these mass shootings a year. I would like to have something to protect myself. So I don't agree with the government just taking guns away as the only solution. Which is what's frustrating. The way that I find out that a mass shooting happened is logging on Twitter and seeing all these Democratic politicians tweeting about guns, right? It's like as soon as they hear about one of these tragedies, the 600th of this year, they just run to their phones and like, I can use this to tweet about guns. And conservatives, accuse them of weaponizing the political issue and never talking about mental health, which is also hypocritical because obviously the conservative politicians aren't going to do shit about mental health. They're not going to move towards making the healthcare system public and giving working people more access to it. So it's just like, shut up. You don't actually care. But that's what the Democrats are doing. They weaponize these tragedies to hammer their agenda, hammer an issue which they know is fairly popular for them with about like 50% of the country. Or I mean, like common sense gun laws are supported by like 94% of the country, or increased background checks or whatever. So they use it to push for their own political agenda. It's like, why are we not questioning the preconditions here? Why are we not questioning imperialism and the role that having an imperialistic, propagandized, oligarch-run society has on the people of that society? And the role that has in making them more violent when, you have movies like American Sniper winning Best Picture, glorifying this horrific murder of millions of people in Iraq. And not to go down the road of video games cause mass shootings, but we do have a lot of very violent media and violent propaganda used to justify very, very, very real killing and very, very real war, and to recruit people into those wars, right? And Activision, Call of Duty, does have a very, very tight connection with the U.S. State Department. So Hollywood and a lot of the production of American media that children are consuming every day, a lot of that is controlled by the military-industrial complex, oligarchs and corporations who want to do endless war, killed millions in Iraq, and then said it was worth it. So, I think this is a symptom of that. And like you said before, like I said before, you also had someone recently, I believe within this year, who was inspired by the Azov Battalion in Ukraine. So there you have a direct link, to where the right-wingers, the Yazidis that the U.S. is funding abroad as a part of their imperial project in East Europe, comes back home and leads to a mass shooting domestically. Yeah, and what was I gonna say? I was watching another video today. It's this like famous video of this cop who's a deputy, being killed by a Vietnam vet, suffering from PTSD at a traffic stop. So the guy just pulls him over, the cop, and then this guy gets out and he's acting crazy, and then he basically grabs a rifle and attacks the cop. And it's a really like disturbing video because you hear the cop like screaming as he's dying, and being shot. It was captured by dash cam. And that video is now used. It was in the late 90s. That video is now used to train cops and to say, even during a traffic stop, you have to be ready to grab your gun and shoot, because they might shoot you first out of nowhere. And then you'll end up dead. And it's a really disturbing video that they use to burn it into your brain forever, So that has been weaponized by the police, these armed bodies of the state. And, we think the solution is, police just have to shoot first, right? That's the argument they're making. Police just have to shoot first so this doesn't happen to them. Well, hold on. Let's think about the preconditions that even allowed this situation to exist. Right? This man who did the shooting has PTSD. When he was 18 years old, he was drafted into the military and sent into the jungles of Vietnam. Right? In some of the most important intellectual developmental years of his life, he was fighting in a horrible, horrible, horrible war, watching people die in brutal, graphic ways every single day. Watching his best friends, the people he lived his life with, fall in booby traps and be killed by people in hiding. And imagine what that does to somebody's psyche for the rest of their life. Clearly, it messed them up. This person got sent into Vietnam when they were in their early 20s, or were in Vietnam when they're in their early 20s, and then they end up killing a police officer and snapping when they're like 50 years old. So, but rather than question the imperialism, rather than question the system that sends 18-year-olds in our country to go fight and die in these wars and come back with PTSD and then doesn't take care of them when they come back, instead of questioning that system, all the debate centers around the issue. Well, should cops shoot sooner or should they not? Who's really the bad guy? Are cops really so bad? We have to question the preconditions. How does the structure of our society allow these things to come about repeatedly? How does there's something wrong with the structure of American society if we're this country having 600 mass shootings a year and other countries aren't dealing with this on the same level, right? There's something in the structure of society that we're not looking at. So what the media does is they just isolate these issues. The media is so good at isolating these issues. Let's show you 2 graphic videos of police killing black people, and then we'll show you 2 graphic videos of police being killed. What should police do? Should they shoot first or shoot second? Well, let's talk about the structure of the police. The police are an armed body of the state. The police have been enforcing this drug war for the past, however many years, that keeps the prisons filled with bodies and keeps them doing prison labor for the prison industrial complex. And then the police have been militarized in order to carry this out, in order to fight back against resistance from groups like the Black Panthers. And rather than talking about the preconditions that have allowed the police departments in modern day to exist in the way that they do, rather than talking about the historical development of the societal institutions we have today, it's just, oh, are cops good or bad? Like, let's talk about the institution of the police, not the morality of the individual police. But sorry, that I got kind of off track in my rant about Walmart. Not really though. We just have to question the preconditions as socialists that would allow 600 mass shootings to happen a year in our country. And is one of those conditions the insane amount of guns we have in our country? That plays a role. It absolutely does. Marx said, don't disarm the workers. I'm not saying the workers should be disarmed, but we can have common sense background checks. This country has an insane amount of guns. But that is not the only reason. And that is not the only reason. I don't think it's the main reason. It's a very sick country, and we have to look at the structure of our country and, as I said, the preconditions that allow these things to exist and allow these things to happen. And also, I worked at Walmart. Our Walmart was so bad. They were understaffed all the time. Always, 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 always understaffed. So much so that the HR lady, the human resources lady, who you were supposed to call if you were sick or if you had an issue or a dispute, if anything was wrong, she was supposed to take care of the human. She's a human resources. We were so understaffed that she had to stock shelves every day. She was never, ever, 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 ever in her office. And then the phone in her office didn't have a voicemail. You couldn't call her and leave a voice message and say, hey, here's my problem. So you just had to wait or continually call and hope she was in her office. If you were sick or something, or if you couldn't come in, or if you had any kind of problem, because they were short-staffed. And it's like, how are we short-staffed? right? The 6 people who own this company are the richest people in the world. Their shareholders are being paid out millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. It's like the most profitable company in all of America. The richest company in all of America can't staff themselves. Like, what does this mean? And this was before I read Capital that I was experiencing this, but now, of course, I know that they're just trying to pay as little in wages as they possibly can so that they can make as much profit as possible. So, having the human resources lady stock shelves instead of just sitting in her office and actually helping people like she's supposed to makes more money for Walmart. So, no matter how much profit they make, will always be understaffed because they're purposefully paying for as little staff as possible. Also, they had these little scanners that would tell you where to put food on the shelf, and they never had enough for everyone. We always had to like share scanners, and I was always borrowing it from other people. And I'm like, making billions of dollars a year. Just give me a damn scanner. But that's how you become such a profitable company. You screw over your workers, you make their conditions terrible, and you push them to the point of breaking.